I'm here to interrupt you again because I think everyone loved it so much the first time.
Nice. What's up?
I wanted to ask you about Brianna Wu on Tim Pool.
What about it?
What were your takeaways?
The number one piece of advice, if I could give Brianna like objective advice, is I think she absolutely needs to come with examples. I've noticed she has a trend where I see her do it on a lot of different platforms where she'll say like, hey, I've seen this and I know you do this. And the other person doesn't think they do that. But then she doesn't really have any examples to back it up. And I think it usually damages her argument quite a bit. I think she'd come off a lot better if she had examples ready to go. Okay.
And when you look at that, when you're watching that and your takeaway is, damn, Brianna, you need examples, are you not criticizing Tim Pool for like a particular reason?
I think I did criticize Tim Pool quite a bit, especially the Hunter Biden part, but I guess I'm not really criticizing Tim Pool because I already disagree with him on everything. There's not like...
I mean, on that specific point, on the part where Brianna Wu, where are the receipts? Because obviously,
oh no, Tim Pool does that really well. Tim Pool will always have, when Tim Pool brings up, I don't like the way the media does this, he'll say like, because of this thing and this thing and this thing and this thing. He'll always give like 2 or 3 big stories that he covers over and over again. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about being on him, not Tim Pool being on Brianna's side of the argument. Tim Pool being on his pool of this specific argument. Brianna Wu saying, you are the person, you are one of the biggest people who put their finger on culture war issues.
Yeah. But then what she needed to do, what would have been really effective, is if she was like, here's an example of you covering a culture war issue in an irresponsible way. That would have been really powerful. But I feel like she never gave a single example. Like, even when she brought up Jackson Hinkle, she's like, Jackson Hinkle was on and that was bad. And it's like, okay, but like, name something that Hinkle said that Tim Pool co-signed, and then we can agree or disagree if that was bad or not. But she doesn't do that, which I think is harmful, or it just hurts her argument, I guess. Not harmful, but it just, yeah.
Yeah, so harmful for her and making her argument and trying to win over any new people to her side. Because obviously, saying that, calling Tim Pool out, that works so well for your own side, your own bubble, who already think the same things that you do and just like love it to see you stick it to them.
Yeah.
I understand you giving her criticism there for trying to convince others, but then when you are the person who is watching it, reviewing it, when you're reacting so hard, because you react hard, why are you only reacting to Brianna Wu?
Because I think we're evaluating her performance on the show. I just don't have anything to say to Tim Pool. I don't want him to like do any better.
Yeah, but exactly. So I understand you don't want him to do better, but do you not want to make the arguments that she is forgetting to make there? I feel like you do that in some situations when you're reacting, but not all.
I don't, it's not an argument that like I've prepared for. So she went on because she wanted to say that Tim Pool's show is harmful to the culture wars, I guess. If I was going to make that argument, I'd probably try and research, like, here are 3 or 4 takes that Tim Pool has that I think are really bad or irresponsible. I think I brought up, for instance, like the Civil War tweets, although Brianna kind of brought that up. But yeah, I'm not really prepared. I don't think
she did at that moment.
Not at that moment, but she did later on. She's like, you tweet about Civil War or whatever. That would be an example of like, this is a good thing to bring up, but I'm not even prepared to do that argument on Tim Pool. So yeah.
Yeah, but at that moment, so I'm just talking about that moment, okay? And I'm specifically talking about you. You, as the person who's going to react and who's going to have this uploaded, and it's going to contribute as if you were Brianna Wu on that podcast. In that moment, you don't feel like she's correct, so you're looking for her to persuade you? Or do you know that she's correct, you just are in the same basket as her? You don't have a list?
I mean, I think she's correct. I just think bringing examples would be really helpful, but I don't have those examples offhand.
So you wouldn't have had those examples yesterday?
No. Well, I mean, if I would have gone on the show, I would have had the examples because I would have tried to get specific examples to look up. But if I was just like teleported there and I was like, you're doing this debate, then I'd be like, oh, fuck me.
Okay. But you feel that way?
Yeah.
So you're comfortable having that feeling and that opinion about him, but you also don't even know where you have that opinion from because you can't think of any examples.
I can think of like general examples, but when it comes to Tim Pool, they're going to have to be particular ones. So like the areas that I would begin my research would be is I feel like your coverage of J6 stuff has been abysmal. You should have come down way harder on the organizers for a lot of the for a lot of the Proud Boy stuff. So, for instance, when he was going over, oh, well, this guy didn't do anything. He wasn't even there. So he's being charged with conspiracy to plan this stuff. He doesn't need to be there. That doesn't make any sense, Tim. The amount of leeway that he gives to people on that side is insane. My guess is going to be, I don't know this, but my guess is going to be that he probably doesn't cover the Trump indictments as much as I think he should, or he probably both sides the confidential materials, like between Trump and Biden a lot. And I feel that way because I see the equivalence that he draws between like Hunter Biden and the supposed lack of impeachment against Joe Biden and then the actual impeachment of Donald Trump. That would be things. So these would be like areas that I would start to research on where I'm like, you're hyper partisan in these areas, but you try to present yourself as this like, you know, middle ground that's centrist and enlightened and is equally criticizing both sides. But I feel like you give a lot of passes to Trump, but you come down really hard on the Democratic establishment. That would be my... That'd be my starting point for research. So I think my intuitions, I think, are built out of a wide variety of material that I've seen him do, and I feel pretty good about those convictions. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty good about them. But if I was going to make the argument in front of him, I'd be like, here are like 3 episodes that I watched. Let's specifically go over why are you coming down so hard on Hunter Biden here, but you said Jared Kushner on this program twice. Why are you coming down so hard on Joe Biden here, but you give Trump's entire administration a pass on his foreign policy with regards to Iran and North Korea? Right. Those would be like the types of things I would go after. I just don't have the specifics on hand. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've watched his past 2. I don't know if they're just the culture war, because sometimes he has Tim IRL. It's like a different podcast, but same fucking area. Same set or whatever. And he has been reacting to the sentencing of Joe Biggs and Enrique, whoever the fuck, the Proud Boys people, and he's just so forgiving. He wants them to get almost no time in prison because they have a family. The wife pled. The guy said, my bad, I let my curiosity get the best of me. He actually thinks that that's a great reason to get out of a 20-year sentence.
Yeah.
That is by the books. And what he says is these judges, everybody is just biased against MAGA, and that nobody on the left gets sentenced to jail. Nobody on the left gets held accountable. Nobody on the left allows their people to go to jail, even though I look it up real fucking quick. Easy Google search. 300, about 300 people over the 2020 BLM riots, protests. Shit was set on fire. Like, over 300 people.
Were arrested or convicted?
I believe it was convicted or charged. I don't know how many went to convictions, but at least 300 charged. Yeah,
that's what I was curious to look at. But you really telling me that happened and nobody got charged? Because I would be surprised if that was the case, but yeah.
And then looking at this year, there's like a couple dozen, I think 3 dozen people facing domestic terrorist charges in Atlanta for being a
the Georgia Cop City thing.
Anarchist. Yeah, they're being referred to as militant anarchist.
Yeah.
This is happening the same time as the January 6th charges, and he's just so oblivious to it and doesn't care, doesn't equate them.
Yeah.
He's so bad faith, so obviously bad faith. I think it is very frustrating being somebody watching you, seeing Brianna Wu. Maybe, I don't know if it's not preparing enough. I don't know if it's stage fright in the moment.
It might be for her. It might be that maybe she doesn't want it to come off as like a super debate, so she doesn't want to get into the weeds on particular issues. But I feel like to be persuasive,
stage fright, though.
I don't know if I'd call it stage fright. I'm sure she's been in a lot of media environments that are probably a lot more hostile and nerve-wracking than that. I think it's an intentional choice made by her. I don't think it's a good choice. I think that's a better way to do it. But she might have a reason on her own for why she does it differently, maybe, you know. So,
I guess the way that I look at it. So stage fright is probably a bad way to put it because it almost implies like somebody is not performing at their best. I think it's a deliberate choice that someone in the moment is starting to raise their voice. They're starting to be defensive when you know that they shouldn't be, because I'm calling a spade a spade.
Oh, I wouldn't call that a deliberate choice, but go ahead.
I would say that what she did was make a deliberate choice, because she did say, like, listen, I didn't want to come here and fight with you.
Yeah,
but
I was going to say the raising voice. I think that just happens when people start to get frustrated. But the not getting to the weeds on specific examples, I think.
Well, I'm saying it's Tim Pool who raised his voice.
Oh, okay. I don't know if he's.
So I would say like she's there for the argument, for the conflict. But once you see Tim Pool raise his voice and start backing in a corner, like you give me evidence. I didn't do any of that. When he starts getting defensive, maybe you take the deliberate decision to pull back, make the choice like this person doesn't want to go there, so I'm just gonna optically choose not to get in the mud. And I don't know if that's good.
Yeah.
It comes off weak.
I agree. Yeah. But like I said, I don't know if that's the choice she's made or not, but I can't. Yeah. That's why I think it would be really good to like, hey, when Hinkle was on, he said this, this, and this, and you didn't care. I think that would be really good to argue about that.
I guess, so I watched that and I just assume obviously that you would do different in that situation, or
yeah, I would have specific examples ready to go 100%, because I would want to fight over the specifics. Every time people are like, let's not get lost in the weeds, like that's exactly where I want to go. I want to get lost in the weeds.
It's the funnest part.
Well, it's the only part that matters. The specific examples are the make or breaks. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so, but it seems like, and I get that you don't want to give Tim Pool any tips or anything, but are you avoiding giving any criticism? Because it's obviously such a dishonest move on his part, he does his content so many hours in the week. What does he mean? When have I ever played the culture war card? You named a fucking podcast, The Culture War.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that like, I think that Tim Pool is probably almost perfect in what he does. I think he's one of the most effective people at playing the culture war game, where he does a very good job at presenting himself as kind of like this lay enlightened centrist XD. He knows his lines of argumentation for the issues that he brings up over and over again very well. He's very good at like controlling the conversation and like the narrative of a conversation. Even with me, he's done this very, very well. When he brought up like that Ahmed Arbery shit that I wasn't familiar with, and he just starts like spouting off like completely incorrect facts. So like, if I were to say like, what critiques would I give?
And with such confidence.
Yeah, it's hard because like my goal and Tim Pool's goal are not the same, right? My goal is I want to be like as factually correct as possible, even if that goes against my side at points. Like I just want to be correct on the issue. I want to be right. Whereas Tim Pool, I think, is serving a broader cultural narrative that's very important to him. And I don't know if he cares as much about ironing out or being absolutely correct on the facts as he is about kind of more allegiance to kind of this like anti-mainstream media, anti-establishment side. Even if he's not aware of it, I think that's more in line with his goals. Because if I were to say things like, hey, I think I can critique him here that he should have been a little bit more factually accurate here, that might actually go counterintuitive to the goal that he has. So it's kind of a pointless critique. If that makes sense.
I'll be honest, it doesn't completely make sense to me because I don't know why you care what his goal is.
It's like, let's say Hitler gave a speech about how evil the Jews are and how they backstabbed us coming back from World War I and stuff. And somebody's like, well, critique Hitler's speech. And I'm like, his goal is to stir people up and to get them really mad. Like, my critique's not going to be, well, I don't think he was exactly correct on the backstabbing Germans. I think that was wrong. Like, that's not a critique I would give because I don't think cares about that critique. I think his goal is to rile people up and to get them to feel a nationalistic kind of way to support him. And insofar as that goes, his speeches and his rhetorical style, I imagine, were probably incredibly effective. So it feels weird to critique him on that. Like, I think that a big critique was that he could have been more factually accurate when he spoke about people. Like, that's not a good critique. He didn't want to be factually accurate. Sorry, go ahead.
Why does that feel like a weird critique coming from you? Wouldn't you want... Okay, hold on.
Holding.
When people come to you for a critique, do you think they're asking you how can Tim Pool be better? Or do you think they're asking you what are all the incorrect things that Tim Pool is saying right now?
The latter. I think they're asking me like, can you debunk Tim Pool's arguments?
Yeah. So
but
why
it's hard.
Would you?
It's weird because like it's not
it
a Tim
feels like
Pool.
You're coming from the other side though.
Yeah,
you're
it is,
not
but that's because like
to debunk. You think you're like a PR person.
Yeah, but it's because it's not Tim Pool's argument. It's Brianna Wu's argument. I don't actually know 100% if I would even support Brianna Wu's argument. I feel like I would. I feel like pretty strong. Like I feel like 85% I would, but I haven't actually sat down and done the research on that. So it's interesting, or it'd be weird for me to like, let me watch a debate between Brianna Wu and Tim Pool, and now let me give like heavy criticisms to Tim, because technically Tim Pool was kind of, I'm assuming he was correct in most of his defenses of his side, but I mean, I'm going to disagree with him.
Being the center, right?
His side being that like he's not like super partisan. But like when he started to talk about the when he started to talk about the Proud Boys and how they didn't deserve any jail sentences, I did start to push back there. Because, like, that's insane. Like, these guys were actually seditious. Like, why would he say they don't deserve jail sentences? Like, oh, and I actually, even on stream, I was like, well, let's look up what these guys are actually charged with. I don't think he's presenting this in a fair light. When he started to make factual claims, I did start to Google, and I was like, well, let's see what he's saying. I don't know if this is right. But when he's saying things like, well, I don't think I'm partisan, and Brianna Wu was like, I think you're hyper-partisan, you're damaging to America, that's Brianna Wu's argument. I don't know how much research I'm going to do on the fly to support her thesis there. That's like, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
But if it was just like a factual debate between like healthcare between the two, I'd probably be more aggressive in like researching and looking up terms on the fly on stream and like seeing what was going on. But
yeah, I think when it comes to Tim Pool, it's one of those. This is the timeline that we're on, so this is the argument he's making. I think if the Proud Boys that were sentenced, if they got lighter sentences, I think that would be used as like an argument for why this isn't an insurrection.
Yep.
See, even the judges aren't trying it as if it was an insurrection. If there was really an insurrection, they'd be getting 20 years in jail, and then that would be justified, but they didn't.
Yeah, it's an all roads lead to Rome type thing. It's like with the Tates. Like if the Tates wouldn't have gotten charged, they would have said, look, 6 months detention, no charges, it's all a sham. But now that they've gotten charged, now they're like, oh, look at these charges, it's a sham. If they don't get convicted, see, the charges were bullshit. We told you the whole time. No wonder they didn't get convicted. If they do get convicted, all of this is bullshit. They were faking it the entire time. Literally, no matter what the outcome is, all roads lead to Rome. They will always find a way to use whatever piece of data they collect to support their hypothesis. It doesn't matter what the data is. They've already decided how it's going to conform to their ideas.
Yeah, and I think, unfortunately, when Brianna Wu goes on there and doesn't have things to list, she looks just as tribalistic, partisan, but from the other end.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it's bad. I think it's bad to do that. Yeah, you should have exact examples for sure.
Yeah. I feel like Tim Pool's the type of person that you would say is high IQ just because he's weaselly in a debate.
I don't know, just weaselly in a debate, but Tim is definitely intelligent. Yeah, he's not stupid. You would be insane to think that Tim is stupid. My audience probably does, though, but I don't care. We always have big disagreements on that, but...
Okay. I get the feeling like what happens is the person who's got that energy, who brings that energy first, either the individual who's arguing on the other side of them either instantly matches it or they've kind of won the entire thing and they get to stomp all over everyone. Not to switch podcasts, but the Whatever podcast, I feel like Candace Owens effectively did that. She called that, the woman went to a Beyonce concert and she called her a selfish bitch like 3 times. And nothing was thrown back at her. Just the most respect.
She called who a selfish bitch? The lady in the video, right?
Yeah, in the TikTok video. That's a selfish bitch. If she's single and she's got, why isn't she in the church? Why isn't she volunteering here? Like going to a Beyonce concert when you have no kids. Just that getting called a selfish bitch and nobody at the table taking that opportunity.
Yeah, narcissistic bitch too. Yeah, nobody should ever date her. No man should ever go. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah. Yeah,
it seems like that. That's what I feel like happens with the bad faith on the right. They do bring up the fucking energy and it almost intimidates others from matching it.
Maybe. I mean, it just depends on the platform, like, because progressives will be unhinged on their platform sometimes, right? It just depends.
Will they? Because I feel like the...
I mean, we just watched Brianna Wu and Kyle Kalinske and Crystal Ball just had, like, a big debate, and that got pretty spicy, yeah.
But that's the left and the left. I feel like we're always comfortable fighting with each other, right? They're willing to call you a transphobe. You're willing to go on and criticize Brianna Wu way more than like Tim Pool. Like we're just comfortable in our own area. But I think when it comes to crossing over, I don't see that same comfort.
Oh, well, that's because the only people that cross over are the people that are intentionally trying to like build bridges, like me or Brianna, right? Other progressives won't even go on those platforms. Those progressives will never even talk to those people. So you're never going to see what they would be like on those platforms, I think.
Because I feel like even the people who do, who are capable of matching energy, sometimes it goes a little bit too far, maybe feels a little cringe, and all of a sudden everyone's willing to just shit on them, like the Alec Gunther The
Well,
Alec guy from the Jubilee video. I can't, I can't
don't think he
fathom
was-
why so many people don't.
He wasn't matching energy, though. That guy was just really aggressive for no reason, I don't think. Sometimes people like the aggressive. It just depends on who it is and what the circumstances. Vaush, for instance, took his first drama W in forever, when he was shitting on Anna Kasparian. And he went really, I think he called her a bitch multiple times. But because so much of the community...
You thought that was a W for him.
It absolutely was. He actually gained subs and got good viewership that month for it. Generally, when he's fighting, usually the whole world, everybody, the left and right, is against him. But here, he had a lot of the far left with him shitting on Anna.
I'm surprised. It wasn't effective when he made that comment to J.K. Rowling, was it?
No, but that's because people already hated J.K. Rowling. He wasn't going to pick up fans on the left being sexist there. But leftists love to hate other leftists more than they do hating people on the right. And Anna was getting a lot of heat from people on the right. So Vaush put himself in a good swell or wave, I guess, incoming to shit on Anna. And he did very well that month attacking her.
So I guess the pattern is still true. I think when I first started streaming, everyone said you can blow up big if you just shit on Destiny.
Yeah.
Just like attack somebody on the left, show that you're more left, and then you win.
Mm-hmm.
And that's back.
Maybe so.
What are you eating?
Subway sandwich.
Ugh.
What?
Just smell the bread.
How can you not like Subway? They're just sandwiches.
No, it's not just sandwiches. It's actually fucking disgusting. Their bread has its own smell. You go into a bakery, you make your own bread, and the bread never smells like that. But Subway's bread, it has its own smell. It's disgusting. You can tell, if you are walking down the street, you can tell when you are close to a Subway sandwiches place. It has a smell.
You got problems.
True. Okay, I guess that's it.
Okay. I love you. Be careful.
Okay, bye.
Bye.